All right, guys, so this is kind of interesting. We have the secret reason why Trump called off at the last minute a new bombing campaign against Iran. So as you all know, he did bomb Iran a while ago, and he was about to do it again. In fact, there was reporting that it was absolutely imminent. But here's the backstory as to what happened. So Dropside News says, the Washington Post was told by a senior U.S. official that Donald Trump was hours from ordering strikes on Iran as U.S. forces mobilized and allies braced, but paused after he received word that Iran had canceled planned executions of 800 protesters. Iran has not announced any plans to execute protesters, nor have authorities announced any cancellation of such plans. The report says Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, the UAE, and Oman urge restraint. J.D. Vance initially supported strikes before backing down. So a couple things here. The fact that J.D. Vance, Mr. I'm against wars, all of a sudden now, behind the scenes, he's like, yeah, bomb more people. We love bombing more people. But the more important thing is, I actually think this is the reason why he called it off at the last minute. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Egypt, the UAE, and Oman urging restraint. I think there was like a moment of, hey, we're not going to give you that $400 million plane that we said we would give you. I think it was like there were business threats against Trump from these people, from these countries. Because I don't buy the Steve Witkoff thing with 800 protesters. That's the cover story that they're giving, and it's just a lie. It's a total lie. There was no plan to kill those people, and there was no plan to call off the killing of those people. It's just all made up, right? So I think the real reason is people with a lot of power and a lot of money said to Trump, there are actually going to be consequences if you follow through with this. That's my guess. But let's read through. We got more here. New, J.D. Vance supported U.S. strikes on Iran this week and reasoned that Trump had to enforce his own red line per sources. It was a surprise role reversal for a politician who built his identity on opposing Middle East wars with a loose connection to core U.S. interests. Understand something? J.D. Vance is a little bitch. He doesn't believe anything. He doesn't care about anything. He's a totally empty, vapid, vacuous man. There is no core to this man. There is zero morality or ethics in this man. He is totally a creation of Peter Thiel and the billionaire class. That's what he is. He's a little puppet boy to those people. And as the I've had it ladies call him, he's the little smoky-eyed sociopath, the failed drag queen, J.D. Vance. And it blows my mind that anybody could be, oh, I'm so anti-war, and like they build a brand around that and then they immediately flip on it. But that's literally every right-wing fucking commentator. That's all of them. Literally all of them. Just like that, they flip back. Other Trump advisors urged caution, including Steve Witkoff and Susie Wiles. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent argued for waiting and letting economic sanctions on Iran work. A key factor driving Trump's reluctance was Israel's reluctance. Israel was vulnerable due to the absence of major U.S. military assets, which Israel has relied on increasingly to shoot down retaliatory strikes from Iran. Oh, in Iran crisis, Trump confronted limits of U.S. military power. That might be an even more compelling reason than the other one. So at first I was thinking, it's probably Saudi Arabia and Qatar and UAE, and they have a lot of business dealings with Trump. They said, look, if you do this now, we're going to have business consequences. We're not going to let you do it, right? That was my first theory. But after having read that, that makes a lot more sense, though. All of the warships are in the fucking Caribbean because Trump just did a war against Venezuela and kidnapped Maduro. So you got all the fucking ships there. You don't have the military backup that you would theoretically need. And so that's right. Israel had reached out to Trump and said, we're not quite ready just yet. Like, we don't have the backup that we need. And so that might be why they called it off. Again, they say a key factor driving Trump's reluctance was Israel's reluctance. Israel was vulnerable due to the absence of major U.S. military assets, which Israel has relied on increasingly to shoot down retaliatory strikes from Iran. So they weren't prepared for what they knew the counter strike would be from Iran. That makes sense. Which, by the way, what does that mean? If that's the reason why, what that means is the new bombing will happen eventually. Like, they're going to do more bombings. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of, can you get all the stuff you need in place? Can you get the warships back to the area there? And can you get the proper, defensive military equipment to shoot down Iranian missiles? That's the question. So I think it's going to happen. It's just a matter of if, not when. But it appears like they got a little out over their skis. And they were like, let's, again, and I told you this would happen. That they're high on their own supply now, and they feel like they're invincible because they actually kidnapped Maduro. And so now they're like, fuck it. Stephen Miller was screaming about, let's go steal Greenland now, right? And now they're talking a lot more about that. So they're high on their own supply, and they were about to, hey, fuck it, let's go bomb Iran too. And then it was Israel that went, whoa, we're not prepared for that. They're going to counterstrike, and we need more of your shit here. So as soon as they get all that in place, look out. Expect another round in the media of, oh, they killed this 17 quadrillion people. By the way, all these numbers that they're floating, totally made up. I'm not saying no protesters have been killed. I'm sure that there are protesters that have been killed, but some of the numbers they're floating are just utterly made up. And they're doing that to try to justify and rationalize, we have to go in and do regime change for humanitarian reasons. Yeah, of course. The fucking Epstein best friend, pedophile, rapist, war criminal, he cares so much about humanitarian reasons. That's why he needs, give me a break. Give me a fucking break. But there you have it. Here's the real backstory as to what went down and why Trump at the last minute called off the bombing strike on Iran.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.